Hey there, Oconiacs. Thank you for joining me here on the channel. Let's talk about some loose ends and theories for Season 2 of Only Murders in the Building. I work off of a loose script, and sometimes I can ramble, so I've put time codes in the description if you want to jump around. Anyway, spoilers for Season 1 of Murders Only in the Building, and possible spoilers for Season 2 if by chance I get something right, which I don't think I will. First, we're going to talk about loose ends. This is kind of hard to quantify what is a loose end on murder mysteries, especially this show. A lot of things are just red herrings, and this didn't really seem to be a fair play type of murder mystery, so it's hard to know what is nothing and what is something. But either way, here are some things that I thought might be loose ends from Season 1 of Only Murders in the Building. And of course, we'll talk about Bunny's murder at the end. First, who wrote the note on Jan's door? Jan received a note on her door that said, "I'm watching you." She never mentioned this note to Charles. I believe it matches the same handwriting that left the note on Oliver's door that stated, "In the podcast, so I'll end you." So it's kind of iffy because it seems as if when he was poisoned, Jan would be the same person to poison Tim Kono. And Winnie, she uses lots of drugs. She even had a little box. What did it say? Like My Little Toxins, which was kind of strange in itself. It makes it seem as if there's some other nefarious person still lurking in the Arconia, related to everything. It could be the person who killed Bunny. I'm thinking about it's an upgrade from the Great Arconia Conspiracy to the Arcadian Crime Syndicate. And that's what it is. But I got a whole nother video I'm working on to try and explain that crazy idea. There was another thing that felt like a loose end and that we need to figure out. It was really there at the very end. Who sent the text that said, "Get out"? Also, who called the cops? Charles and Oliver are both on the roof. Well, first, let me tell you who I think it's not. I don't think it's Detective Williams. I don't think it's Detective Williams or Bunny or Will, or Ursula, or Lester. These are all people whose number Oliver and Charles would have saved in their phones. It would be strange for them to call from another number. Nothing on the show is that complicated in that way. They may not have Oscar's number saved, or Howard's number, or Uma's number saved. I don't know how big of a relationship they have with them. It does not seem like they would have one personally or professionally, so I would not think that they would have their number saved. I also would know whoever this is, how they got their numbers, but that's another problem. Aside from who it was, I think that whoever this person is that sent the text is tied to the murder. I think it's very likely that the person who sent the text either saw the murder and knew that the Golden Trio or podcasters would be blamed, or they suspected and wanted them out of the building as to prove their innocence. I believe this is the same person who notified the police about the murder, but there's lots of other ways it could have gone, so we'll just keep that spinning and see what comes up. After that, this one's a hard one to judge. Why didn't the tox report get sent in? Why didn't the tox report get sent in? This is an iffy subject because the way it was worded could be interpreted as it was suspected suicide, so it wasn't deemed necessary. But the word that Detective Williams used, "hands off," makes it sound as if higher-ups did not want the paperwork to be submitted, as there is something bigger going on. I'm always out for the big conspiracy theories, so I'm on the boat with the idea that was definitely of the cover-up of the tox report by the police, on part because the demons is shady business that likely involved others in the building. And shady businesses, that gets racketeering, robbery, murder, things like that. That is the basis of the Arconian Crime Syndicate. That's what I want it to be, and at the top of it is actually Howard. We'll get to that later, but I'll break that down like a fraction of another video. I gotta stay on topic. As I have time to go through interviews with people in front of behind the scenes, I'll update on that later. Oh, that's pretty much what I was supposed to say, but I rambled on. Another loose end that was very strange to me that no one seemed to have really mentioned or picked up on is that Charles is a liar, and I don't really understand the reason why he would have. The real question is, for me, why did Charles and Lucy's mom break up, and when did it happen? Charles tells Jane that his last relationship lasted 6 years with a woman who had a 7-year-old daughter named Lucy. Be careful, we're gonna go down a little bit of a rabbit hole in order to try and guesstimate how long ago Charles has been alone in the Arconia. Lucy was 7 when she moved in, using the average that Lucy and her mother moved in halfway into the relationship. That would make Lucy approximately 10 years old at the end of the relationship. 6 years split the difference halfway through. That's when they got in. 3 years later, they're out. That's when they leave Charles on the cruise ship. Aronoff's daughter, Anaya, FaceTimes with Lucy, and they are in a circus arts class together, which is kind of like a class which is, from what I understand, various classes that teaches you the arts of the circus. You could be in a trapeze class, and that's a art circus class or circus arts class, or one for just generic that you do a lot of different things. I'm not sure, but it does not specifically seem like an adult thing in this situation. It sounds like Aronoff is talking about a child. Aronoff also said that he told Charles in the past that they are parent friends with Cinda Canning. That also leads me to believe that she is still a minor, because the word parent friends are not usually used when referring to adults. Giving a little leeway, that means Charles' last relationship ended about 5 to 9 years ago, in the assumption that Lucy is somewhere between under 18, somewhere around 15 years old. Giving a little leeway off the basis that Lucy is not 10, neither is she 18, that's about 8 years in there. To make a guesstimate, we're going to say that the relationship ended between 5 to 9 years ago, which means the original Hardy Boys could have easily broken into Charles' apartment when Lucy and her mother lived there, or even Oliver's apartment, and I often wonder if Mabel will tell them if she did, or if she would even remember being inside of their apartments. She probably would remember Oliver's. Now, what makes this all crazy is that Charles tells Mabel in episode 1 that he's been alone for over 28 years. This may be a lie he told her, but why lie and tell someone the story of how your father is shitty to women and you were afraid that you would be too, so you decided to be single? Out of embarrassment? They were getting to know each other and she had just opened up to him, and Mabel's a pretty understanding person. I think if he said he wasn't comfortable about it, she would have respected that. Charles states that he does everything like his father, and we know he was in a 6-year relationship with a woman. Why would we not think that he treated Lucy's mother the way he said his father did to his mother? He could have been emotionally abusive to her. He could have made her feel silly or small, even for things like being an adventurous person and not wanting to settle down as much as Charles did. Even to the point that he could have said she wasn't a good mother and she cared about him, so this could hurt her. The merit does stand. He lied to Mabel for one reason or another, but at the same time, he would care for Lucy in that relationship, and she would only see the good guy who wants to take them on family cruises. Man, it's a very interesting dynamic, and I always like to see new characters added in the story. I'm hoping Mabel's aunt shows up too. The last of the loose ends ties into theories for season 2. Of course, the big one, who killed Bunny? Now, I'm just gonna throw this out there. Half of this is gonna be ridiculous, but I can't help it. But some of this, I'm feeling like I might be beating towards some kind of bushes. So, number 1, who killed Bunny? And why was she wearing Only Murders in the Building hoodie? From what I can tell, no one had a big out for her, but I'm going to put forth 2 theories and maybe 3 of who and why she was murdered. Also added a couple ideas of possibly why she could have been wearing the tie-dye hoodie. But this is all predicated on the fact that Mabel in no way lied about how she found Bunny. If Mabel has something to do with it, we can't really know too much. That's something out of left field, and I hope that's not really what happened. I don't think it is. But first, I think she may have been a revenge kill for shunning the Arconian Avengers and attempting to kick them out. This could have been done by Howard. Near the end of the season 1 finale, Howard passes Bunny and Uma in the elevator and introduces them to Evelyn Sevelin. He extends to them an invitation to his apartment to play Parcheesi and have a gab. Maybe Bunny obliges and hangs out with Howard. Maybe they get to gabbing and Bad Bunny not caring makes another comment about Howard's apartment smelling, and they argue and Howard does her in. I'm putting that at the low end of the possibility line, but that's just right when I saw the scene of what happened, my initial thought was Howard being angry about the comments she made and how she felt as if she could kick him out willy-nilly, that he would have some revenge on Bunny. I don't know how that would tie into of the knitting needle. Second is the most obvious, but I don't think is it. Oscar. He's the only person that we know of within the story that would know that Mabel likes to use, or she carries her knitting needle as a weapon. We know that, but no, I don't think any other character knows that. It could be that what we hear is also partially on the podcast, so anyone hearing the podcast could know that. But either way, with the tie-dye hoodie, if Bunny didn't buy one, Oscar could have access to these hoodies. In order to give one to Bunny, to force her into one, like it could have been some big, strange, ritualistic thing. I think Bunny actually just put one on because she likes it, or someone tricked her into putting it on. But I did track the hoodies, and the last known location of them was in Mabel's apartment. After Charles kicked them out, Oliver actually uses some to prop up his pillow while he slept. I thought Oliver might have had some in his doggy cart, and he would have had to take them out in order to pick up Charles. It was usually gut milk on the cart and other random things. Oscar could definitely have a hoodie, or take a hoodie and bring it to Bunny as to say some kind of peace offering. When she puts it on, runs off, something along those lines. That's the only possible way I could see Oscar being the person. What I think is most likely is it is a member of the Arconiacs, the fans, maybe one of them that was sitting outside. I really think it would be funny if the woman who is in a wheelchair wasn't really in a wheelchair. I could see her like wanting to dress up as Mabel, and if it is known within the podcast that Mabel carries a knitting needle, her strange obsession with the podcast, it's something that a super fan would carry with them as kind of a cosplay, a little homage to someone they idolize. And if we see any of them kind of dressing like Mabel in the second season, I think then that would heavily imply that might be what's going to happen. One of them could have happened between a bunch of them, possibly. One not promising to tell on the others, they text the others to get out. But I think it's more likely that they did this in order to keep the podcast going, not to actually cancel the podcast, but to make another mystery that they know Mabel won't be arrested for. There's not enough evidence, possibly. I don't know how Mabel's going to get out, but I'd imagine that she is out in order to help them figure out who killed Bunny. She's not considered a flight risk, but it would be for murder. Maybe the circumstantial evidence isn't enough, but everyone's going to think that she's a murderer. That'd be really wild. But I think that if the Arconiacs did it, they would have done this in order to keep the podcast going, so they know they would get another season of their favorite show. I keep rambling. I'm going to try and stop and close this in. Either way, I believe Bunny was likely killed in her own apartment. I believe she's next door to Mabel, and then went next door to Mabel for help. It also leads me to believe that Mabel does know this killer on some level, as it appears they are attempting to frame her as a killer. These are just some theories. Please debunk them or share yours below. I'll like to talk to you about them, see what you're thinking there. No time from a big crazy theory about the Arconian crime syndicate. That's going to come another day. I had a video that I put together about my favorite parts about the season finale and a breakdown of the interrogation. I uploaded it, and afterwards I didn't think, and I deleted all the files on my computer about it. Really sucks, but I've got to rewrite that and put that video out. It'll maybe just focus on the interrogation. It'll clear up some things. I think it clears up some things, how people don't understand how Charles was acting and how Jane was acting. I think it's interesting when I see them myself, as I have conducted quite a few interrogations when I was in the military. So I will be breaking down different interrogation techniques and how Charles used them, knowingly or not knowingly. Also, the military techniques do differ than police or detective techniques, so there may be some kind of leeway or crossway. It is just a translation of military interrogation techniques that Charles used. Even if he did not know that he was using them, I'd like to think that he actually learned some stuff from playing a detective, and he was able to do it to get Jan to confess and put himself in the safest situation he could. But I'm rambling about that again. That's going to come up. I'm also working on a video about my journey doing some screenwriting. Please tell me, what are some loose ends that you're wondering about? What do you think about my theories? And share your thoughts down below. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time.